What's up, everybody? Hope things are going well today. And I got to have something positive to talk about right now. And we're not getting very much positive stuff from the Seahawks, not really getting it from the Mariners. So I got to turn to the Huskies. And I know the Husky stuff is not for everybody, but hopefully you guys can appreciate the fact that we need something good to discuss right now. And this is about as good as it gets. The Washington Huskies had an amazing season. Their basketball team's actually pretty good, by the way. Not that I follow college basketball, but we just need some optimism around here, some reason to be happy with the way our sports teams are performing, and we're not really getting much from the pro teams, so we're going to college. And I wanted to make a video about this because something else fairly cool happened for the Washington Huskies. The Associated Press All America team came out, all three teams. They do three teams of the top players from across the country, and the Huskies were fairly well represented. So I want to go ahead and take a look at this real quick and see who made the cut and where. So this is kind of like the All Pro team in the NFL. The NFL has their Associated Press All Pro teams, and college football does the All America teams. Now, there are only two All Pro teams, but All America does three. So let's take a look here and see where Washington came in. So the first team, this is the best of the best of the best of the best. You can see that we actually have one player on the first team All America offense. It is Rome Odunze. He is the third receiver behind Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Nabirs of LSU. Odunze is the third receiver, so that is a pretty substantial honor. And you can see a lot of the other top movers and shakers in college football this year did make this first team. Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner, the two best tackles in the league this year in Fashanu and Alt, Bebe and Zinter, two guards that I spent a lot of time talking about this year. Powers Johnson, best center in the country, Bowers. Odunze is now among those Titans. So big shout out to Rome Odunze. Had a fantastic year. Had to take on a huge workload this year because of the injury to McMillan, and he responded in kind, and I he definitely deserves it. So Romo Dunze makes the first team, and that's it for the first team. No other Huskies made the first team, and nobody on defense, and I don't think we have any defensive players on that level, so that makes plenty of sense. There were a couple of other Pac-12 players like Jackson Powers Johnson. There was Latu, the edge from UCLA, and that is the first team. So let's jump ahead to the second team here and find another Washington player here at quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. Almost gets the nod as the best quarterback in the country, but he does end up taking a backseat to Jaden Daniels, which I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that's probably pretty fair. I do think Jaden Daniels had a more impressive season. Penix has the opportunity to win the more important awards in the coming playoff, so I got no problem with Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman and winning first team All America. So Michael Penix is your second team All America quarterback. And that is it for the offense. We do have one other two other Pac-12 players listed here. We have Fuaga from Oregon State, and we have Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon. And if you go down to the defense, you can see that there are no Washington players on the second team of the defense, which again, I think is pretty reasonable. Our defense was not stellar this year, although I will say this, it did play very well down the stretch, and to a certain extent, I think they proved that they were a lot better than they were at the start of the year. It wasn't necessarily because they had one super dominant player. There were a couple of Pac-12 guys here. Actually, excuse me, only one. Jonah Ellis, a edge rusher out of Utah. So not a lot going on here for the Pac-12 in general. But third team, let's take a look. We've got a couple of representatives here. First, we got Troy Fatanu of the left tackle position. He barely made the cut. He is the sixth tackle listed. So out of six tackles that make the teams, he is number six. But Troy Fatanu made it. So that's a very, very impressive honor as well. And that's probably going to boost his draft stock a little bit in this upcoming draft. So he can feel pretty good about making the third team. especially with some of the guys that were ahead of him. This is a very good year for offensive tackles. He did great. Nobody else on the offense was Washington. However, we finally find a couple of Washington players on the defensive third team. Braylon Trice made All-America third team. And again, I think that Braylon Trice was a guy who started out slow and got a little bit better as the year went on. I wasn't sure he was going to make any honors like this, but they decided our defense needed to be given some credit for the way they played, so they gave it to Braylon Trice. So good for him. That's going to help him going into this draft. And then you've got Ulo Foshio, who I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, but he made linebacker third team All-America, and he was one of our best players on defense this year. So I think that makes sense. If you're going to pick out a couple guys to really honor, it makes sense that those would be your guys. The only guy who I would maybe have pointed to would have been Muhammad at corner, but I don't know if he was that good this year. So, makes sense. And hey, that's pretty decent representation. I mean, we all know that this team was ultimately powered by their passing attack. So the fact that it would be Penix and Odunze on the first two teams makes a lot of sense. And then they honor kind of the other parts of the team, like the offensive line and some of the stuff on the defense with the third team. You can see there's also some Pac-12 love on the third team as well. Beyond just Washington, you've got Bo Nix making the third team. You've got McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver, making it as well. And if you go to the third team on defense, you will actually. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw Boise State and thought Boise State was in the Pac-12 for a second. They are not. So that's actually it, but not bad at all. This is one of the better All-America teams in Husky history in terms of the representation on the roster. Very impressive, very robust, and representative of what made our team as good as it was. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think down below, but this is a year worthy of celebration for these Huskies, and I'm going to get everything I can out of it because you never know when this is going to happen again. This team might not be this good again for a long time. It's very hard to be this good. And I say that even not knowing what's going to happen in this playoff. We could lose the first game in the playoff. This is still a very special season that needs to be appreciated as much as humanly possible. So congratulations to Rome Odunze, one of the best receivers in college football this year. Michael Penix gets the honor as the second best quarterback in college football. And Fatanu, Ulo Foshio, and Trice get honored as some of the top defenders. All right, so we still got a lot of time between now and the playoff starting. I'll try to find a way to do some more college football or Huskies related content, but there's not a lot to talk about. I wish there was because the stuff is pretty much all positive. So we're just waiting for stuff to happen. Bowl games are going to start soon, I guess. We're going to be able to see some of these other teams, but I'm ready to get to January. I got to be honest. See you guys later. Bow down to Washington.